Hello and welcome to Kunzy Podcast English, where you learn English through stories, current events, and inspiring topics from around the world. In this episode, we'll dive into the latest updates surrounding Donald Trump, from U.S China trade relations, the recent controversies at Harvard University, to the actions of the U.S Federal Reserve, and the ongoing war between Russia and Ukraine. Join me on this exciting journey where language learning meets world affairs, helping you not only improve your English skills, but also stay informed and gain a deeper understanding of the world around you. Have you ever wondered what's really happening behind the scenes of today's chaotic headlines? Why does Donald Trump, the former occupant of the White House, continue to be at the center of global political storms? In this special podcast episode, we open the door to the events that are shaking the world. From fierce confrontations with China over trade and technology, to underlying tensions with long-established academic institutions like Harvard University, which has become a flashpoint in the battle between academic power and political influence. But that's not all. You'll also be taken to the heart of the U.S. economy, where the Federal Reserve is facing growing pressure from Trump's controversial policies and statements. And of course, we can't overlook the brutal war between Russia and Ukraine, a geopolitical chessboard where Trump may be more than just a spectator. He could be a pawn, or a strategic player. This episode isn't just another news update. It's an invitation to enter the arena of global power struggles, where every speech, every decision, could shift the balance of the world. Brace yourself, you're about to hear things few dare to say. Part 1, Introduction. Exploring the chaotic world through the lens of the most controversial figure of our time, Donald Trump. In a world that changes by the minute, where information is overflowing and truth mixes with fiction, one figure has always kept a central place in global conversations: Donald Trump. He's no longer president, but his influence has never waned. On the contrary, every move, every statement, every action he takes has the potential to shake financial markets, spark waves of controversy on social media, and even make world leaders wary. This podcast episode isn't just another news update. It's a journey into the backstage of a battle that's happening silently but powerfully, where Trump is a strategic pawn, a symbol, or even a threat. The trade war with China, a battle that never ends. Do you think the U.S. China trade war has cooled down? Think again. Trump may no longer sit in the Oval Office, but the aftermath of his tariff policies, his tech battles with Huawei, TikTok, and his tough stance against Chinese companies still impacts every breath of the global economy. Recently, he's called for even harsher policies, issuing warnings about the China threat to the U.S., from semiconductor production to artificial intelligence. For Trump, China is not just an economic opponent. It's a power struggle, and he always wants to make the first move. Harvard University, a land of knowledge or a battlefield of politics? In a surprising turn of events, Harvard University, a symbol of intellect and academic freedom, is being pulled into the political whirlpool. Trump's policies, especially during his presidency, caused serious tension between the federal government and academia. Lately, heated debates have resurfaced as international relations, particularly with China, are being scrutinized. The question remains, is Harvard still the fortress of independent thought, or has it become a playground for political forces and vested interests? 3. The Federal Reserve, invisible pressure and financial leverage. Trump has long had a tense relationship with the Federal Reserve. He often harshly criticized their interest rate policies, accusing the Fed of stifling economic growth during his tenure. Now, as the global economy faces the risk of a recession, Trump's statements once again put pressure on policymakers. He doesn't just talk about the Fed as an outsider, it's as if he could do better, and he's not afraid to express that publicly. Russia, Ukraine, a bloody battle and Trump's voice. Trump has publicly criticized NATO, expressed admiration for Vladimir Putin, and even suggested that the Ukraine conflict might not have happened if he were still president. Now, as the situation worsens and the world becomes more divided, Trump is speaking out. But this time, his words take on a different tone: peace or geopolitical calculation. Some argue he's positioning himself as a mediator. Others believe he's trying to return to the political stage by doing what no one else dares to do, end the war. Why shouldn't you miss this podcast episode? Because this isn't just a story about Trump. It's a full picture of a world struggling between the old and the new, between truth and manipulation, between power and belief. When you listen to this episode, you're not just getting an update. You're activating your critical thinking, getting access to angles the mainstream media sometimes overlooks. And most importantly, you'll realize that in this chaotic era, knowledge is power. Part 2, New Taxes on Goods, the intense trade war between the U.S. and China. In April, a historic trade war officially erupted between the U.S. and China, sending shockwaves not only through the economies of both nations but also impacting the global economy. Behind these tax numbers, it's truly a high-stakes intellectual battle, where the U.S. and China are not just trading goods, but vying for power, influence, and economic dominance. The goal of both sides is not simply to create short-term profit, but to protect their domestic economies, gain a long-term competitive advantage, and establish strategic benefits for future generations. The items subject to reciprocal tariffs range from clothing, toys, and agricultural products to high-tech equipment. You might think these are just ordinary goods, but there's a strategy behind it. Both nations are trying to protect their core industries, from agriculture to technology, and prevent the other from gaining dominance in these areas. Items like clothing and toys might not grab the spotlight, but when they are essential everyday products, tariffs on them will directly affect the wallets of millions of consumers. What stands out the most is high-tech products, a field of critical importance in this war. The U.S. wants to protect its innovations in the technology sector and maintain global dominance in areas like electronics, software, and telecommunications. Meanwhile, China is striving to boost its technology production, hoping to no longer rely on American companies. This competition doesn't just play out between the two countries, it could reshape the future of the global technology industry. So why are the U.S. and China imposing tariffs on each other? The goal is not only to shield their domestic economies, but more deeply, they are creating strategic advantages in global trade. Both countries want to secure the upper hand in global trade negotiations, which will not only affect short-term profits but also lay the foundation for the future world of commerce. But what will happen if this war escalates? When tariffs start to impact not just consumer goods but also vital industries, how will each nation's strategy evolve? These are the big questions the world is waiting for answers to. And as this war continues, it's not just the U.S. and China that stand to win or lose, but its effects will ripple across the entire globe, impacting every individual, every industry, and every nation worldwide. This is not just a simple trade war, it's a battle to reshape the global economic landscape of the 21st century. And if you want to understand more about it, stay tuned, because this war is still ongoing, and the latest developments will continue to reshape the entire global economy. Part 3, Taxes Getting Bigger. U.S. takes the trade tax war to new heights while the world remains deeply involved in the ongoing trade war between the U.S. and China. A shocking event just unfolded. The U.S. imposed a massive 245% tax on a range of goods from China. The name China, already synonymous with complex trade strategies, has now become the target of a colossal tariff. But did you know, this is just the beginning of a much larger plan that the U.S. is executing? The reason behind this tax hike is not simply a retaliatory move. The 245% tariff is part of a broader strategy that the U.S. intends to deploy, not only to protect its domestic economy but also to reshape the global trade landscape. Imagine this: critical items like clothing, electronics, high-tech machinery, and agricultural products are now facing an unprecedented increase in taxes. This will not only make Chinese goods significantly more expensive but will also completely alter global supply chains that have been firmly established over decades. The burning question is, what will China do next? Initially, China reacted strongly to these tariff blows, but over time, it became apparent, China is beginning to feel fatigued by this endless tariff game. It's not just about the increased costs, it's about the long-term impact these tariffs have on their economy. Domestic markets are suffering, businesses are struggling to stay afloat, and those massive tariffs from the U.S. are making Beijing reconsider its strategy. But can China keep fighting this tariff war, or will they be forced to pause and reassess their approach? Here's the intriguing part, the U.S. isn't stopping with China. In a surprising move, the U.S. has begun negotiating with over 75 countries around the globe to sign individual trade agreements. Why individual agreements, and not a multilateral one? That's a question that's raising a lot of eyebrows. Clearly, the U.S. no longer wants to be tied down by common frameworks. These bilateral deals will allow the U.S. to tweak every detail to ensure it maximizes its advantage in every possible way, from trade to economics and politics. The U.S. may not need China in these deals, but will other nations, America's new partners, easily agree to these terms? These new trade agreements are set to transform the way countries do business, and that's the part that's making the whole world pay attention. The U.S. is betting on a bold strategy, while China continues to figure out how to adjust to this rapidly shifting landscape. So, if not China, who will be the next partner for the U.S.? Will these countries truly accept the tough conditions America is setting? And can this tax strategy last long, or will China find a way to turn the tables? Stay tuned closely, because this global trade war has never been simple, and the decisions made in the coming months will shape the history of the global economy for decades to come. Part 4, Trade Negotiations. Will Trump's shift end the trade war? Recently, in a surprising move, Donald Trump announced that he does not want to increase taxes any further. It is well known that the trade war between the U.S. and China has caused significant damage to both American businesses and consumers. The high tariffs on Chinese goods have driven up prices, leading to negative consequences for daily life and business operations. Trump recognizes that continuing to impose high tariffs would not only harm the economy but also hinder the growth of American businesses. Could this be a sign of a shift in Trump's strategy, a decision to reassess after pushing tariffs for so long? What's noteworthy is that China, the main adversary in the tariff battle, has unexpectedly reached out and expressed its willingness to renegotiate the trade issues. Could this be a positive sign? Does China really want to negotiate to find a long-term solution, or is this just a temporary tactic to avoid more severe economic damage on its own side? Regardless, the fact that the two largest economies in the world are returning to the negotiation table will undoubtedly reshape the global landscape. But can these negotiations lead to a favorable outcome? While there have been some positive signals, one major issue still looms: TikTok. This is not part of the official trade negotiations, but it remains a sensitive issue that must be resolved. The name TikTok has become a symbol in the debate over national security and tech control. The U.S. government has threatened to ban the app, citing concerns about personal data and surveillance by China. The negotiations regarding TikTok have become a separate matter, a much larger challenge compared to typical trade issues. Although Trump has stated that he does not want to raise taxes anymore, issues like TikTok and concerns around national security will continue to serve as significant roadblocks in trade talks. Can Trump overcome these challenges to reach an agreement with China? And more importantly, can these negotiations truly lead to a trade deal that benefits both sides, or will we witness a prolonged trade war? These developments are not only impacting the economies of the U.S. and China but also have far-reaching consequences for the global economy. We are just beginning to witness pivotal moments, and the final outcome of these negotiations could reshape international trade relationships for years to come. As the talks continue, any change could trigger major shocks in the market and global politics. Part 5, The Controversy Over Harvard's Budget, a Battle for Education Reform. On an unexpected day, the U.S. government announced a shocking decision, a $2 billion cut from Harvard University's budget. Considered one of the most prestigious universities in the world, Harvard now faces not only financial issues but also a larger controversy involving academic freedom and political influence in higher education. Why this sudden change? The U.S. government didn't just cut funding, they demanded that Harvard completely reform its recruitment processes, admissions, and teaching methods. Specifically, Trump ordered that Harvard change how it recruits faculty and those involved in teaching, citing concerns over the rise of anti-Semitism within the academic environment. The issue of anti-Semitism became a hot-button topic when the government accused the university of not doing enough to address discriminatory behavior towards Jewish students and faculty members. However, what lies beneath this demand is a larger story about political power and influence over the U.S. education system. Why was Harvard targeted? Harvard, long a symbol of academic freedom and a place for the brightest minds from around the world, has suddenly become the center of a political battle. The budget cut is not just a financial move, it is part of a reform strategy that Trump is pursuing to reshape the U.S. higher education system. His goal is not only to change Harvard but also to send a message to all universities nationwide. But what happens next? Harvard must decide whether to comply with these demands, in hopes of maintaining its financial stability and reputation, or continue to defend its autonomy. Other universities will look at Harvard as an example of how they too might be forced to change under government pressure. This is a struggle that could reshape U.S. higher education. Universities, which have always seen themselves as bastions of academic freedom, must now confront the reality that they might be forced to adapt to political demands in the future. The question remains, will this political intervention undermine the foundations of academic freedom and independence in U.S. universities? Clearly, with actions like these, the fate of one of the world's most prestigious universities is now at stake. These changes will not only impact Harvard, but they also serve as a warning to other universities about what might happen if they don't adapt to the increasing political demands. Education reform has begun, and everything is still unfolding. Part 6. Proposal for University Taxation, a Power Struggle and Responsibility. The confrontation between Harvard University and the administration of Donald Trump has reached a boiling point, as this prestigious institution refuses to comply with the White House's demands. The U.S. government has requested that Harvard implement sweeping changes in admissions policies, teaching practices, and handling issues related to anti-Semitism. However, instead of agreeing and complying with the directives, Harvard has steadfastly opposed them, creating an unprecedented controversy. Trump, undeterred, issued a serious warning. He declared that he would revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status, a critical financial advantage for the university. Harvard has long enjoyed this exemption, which helps maintain a robust financial foundation, attract top-tier students and faculty, and continuously enhance its brand value. However, losing this exemption could lead Harvard into a financial crisis, severely impacting the university's operations moving forward. Yet, this raises a pressing question: will Harvard yield under this pressure? Or will it fight to protect its autonomy, knowing that the consequences could be dire? Not only does this issue affect Harvard, but it could also send a warning signal to other universities. Can they continue to operate independently without government interference in crucial decisions? But that's not all. The U.S. government, determined to implement its policies, has demanded that Harvard publicly apologize for not doing enough to address anti-Semitism on campus. This is no simple request. It's a direct assault on the reputation and image of one of the world's most prestigious universities. The government wants Harvard to take responsibility for these sensitive issues and show a stronger commitment to eradicating all forms of discrimination and hate within its academic environment. This is a battle that could change not just the future of Harvard, but also transform the higher education system in the U.S. Trump's demand for Harvard to respond to such significant social and political issues sets a precedent that could lead to broad changes in the relationship between universities and the government. The situation is currently tense, and there's no indication that a swift resolution will come. Will Harvard manage to stand its ground and continue to fight for its autonomy, or will it succumb to the pressure from the administration? This will decide not only the university's future but also impact the future of other universities and how they maintain independence in a world where politics increasingly intervenes in every field, including education. The standoff between Harvard and the Trump administration promises to be one of the most significant stories about academic freedom, political power, and social responsibility in the coming years. So, the big question is, will the administration succeed in changing how Harvard operates, or will the university continue to maintain its position as a fortress of academic freedom and independence? All will depend on the next steps, and this confrontation will certainly not end easily. Part 7, The Clash with the Federal Reserve, a dangerous standoff and a dramatic turn of events. Donald Trump has publicly attacked the chairman of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, accusing him of failing to act swiftly enough to lower interest rates when it was most needed. Trump's frustration with Powell reached a boiling point as he argued that the Federal Reserve's inability to cut rates in a timely manner is harming the U.S. economy, slowing down what could have been a stronger recovery. In an attempt to put pressure on Powell, Trump didn't hold back. He boldly criticized the decision to maintain high rates, claiming it's choking the economic growth of the nation. According to Trump, this strategic misstep could ultimately lead to a missed opportunity for Americans to benefit from a booming economy. The stakes are high, as Powell's refusal to adjust rates might be jeopardizing the financial future of millions. To add fuel to the fire, Trump didn't stop at attacking Powell alone. He made an explicit comparison to the European Central Bank, which is moving in the opposite direction, planning to cut interest rates to stimulate growth in their own region. This move, according to Trump, highlights the incompetence of the U.S. Federal Reserve in making the right decisions at the right time. The tension is palpable, and this open conflict raises serious questions. Will the Federal Reserve back down, or will Trump's relentless attacks push Powell to change his stance? Could the U.S. be on the verge of a financial showdown? Trump's criticisms may just be the tip of the iceberg in a much bigger battle over the future of U.S. monetary policy, and the ripple effects of this power struggle could reshape the economy in ways we've never seen before. The next few moves could change everything. Conclusion: we've just witnessed an important part of the ongoing battle between Donald Trump and major political opponents, as well as large institutions like the Federal Reserve and Harvard. His bold decisions, sharp criticisms, and confrontational strategies are not only reshaping the economy but also causing major upheaval in America's political policies and education system. From the trade war with China, imposing heavy tariffs, to proposals to tax universities and debates over interest rates, Trump's moves force us to reflect on the far-reaching impacts they have on the future of the U.S. and the world. If you found this content intriguing and want to stay updated on the latest developments regarding Donald Trump as well as key political and economic topics, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe today to ensure you don't miss out on upcoming episodes of Kunzy Podcast English. We'll continue to bring you the latest events surrounding Trump and his controversial decisions in future episodes. Stay tuned for more dramatic and timely stories in the next podcast episodes.